Hello, everyone. My name is Zach Pritchard. I am a financial coach with All Around Financial Coaching, and I wanted to take a look today at creating a budget, creating a zero-based budget. That way, kind of help you guys understand. I get a lot of questions with that. What does it mean to do a zero-based budget? Why is it important? A lot of people say I have a budget, I have a template that I go off of, and I hope, you know, but my hope is that I have enough money at the end of the month. And that's not how we want to live because it just creates stress. So I get a lot of questions with that. I wanted to take a minute and share with you guys how to create a budget and what to do. I'm using Everydollar. It's a great app. It's something that you can track everything. You can see what you're spending throughout the month, and that's a big important key, important role in your budgeting is to be able to track it and know how much you're spending in what categories. So I've already created an account. I've got this is the page you get to right after you create it. You confirm your email address, and it'll take you to here. So we're gonna walk us through. Um, I'm gonna walk you through this process. It's very simple. It's very quick. So here you just click on your money goals. Say I want to pay off debt. I want to save for retirement. Stop living paycheck to paycheck. Maybe I don't have kids, but I do want to save for a home. And let's hit continue. You can click all of those if you want to. Um, and then it kind of walks you through the 7 baby steps from Ramsey. If you're not familiar with Ramsey, we can definitely get you the information you need for that. Um, for the baby steps, but it's all in here as well. So now you're just going to tell them a little bit about you. Since you don't own a home, you rent. I do own a car. I'm married, but I have no kids. But I do have pets. Continue. Next is your income. Continue. Definitely starts. You have to know what you have coming in to be able to plan it. So we're gonna take a couple that's making, say we're making 60,000 a year. Um, they're gonna be getting paid around $2,100 a month in a paycheck. So roughly $4,200. Um, Depending on how you get paid, it may, there's going to be a couple $100 there if you get paid bi-weekly or by just twice a month, however that looks. But just hit continue. You've got 4,200 to budget. Moving through the process, basic expenses. So we're going to look at just your what we call the four walls: food, shelter, clothing, utilities, and transportation. Utilities and clothing kind of um, the anyway. So mortgage or rent. So say we rent, our rent is $1,200. Our water is 35. Maybe we don't have gas. Electric is 75 or maybe 100. Just we don't have cable, but our trash is 25. You got gas for fuel, so maybe 400, depending on how much you're driving. Maintenance is $50 a month, oil and whatnot. Groceries, maybe you're spending 500 on groceries and 200 on restaurants a month, which is actually fairly cheap for most people. we spend a lot more on restaurants than we probably should as a society. Most people don't buy clothing every single month, but they may have a phone bill, 150, um, fund money of maybe $100 each for each spouse. Um, Hair and cosmetics, whether you get your hair cut monthly or every other month or however that looks, but maybe you'll do 100 in there, and you've got subscriptions like Hulu, Netflix, any of those. Um, let's say they add up to $65. And then keep going through. If you're a Christian and you're tithing, then we would do 420 as 10%. And then depending on what baby step you're in, you can put more into the charity and keep adding items. If say you want to give to this organization or that organization, but if you're in baby step 2 trying to pay off debt, then we recommend to stop here and put everything else to your debt. Um, and then, so now we're getting into our debt. So you said you own a car, maybe you have credit cards, your credit card payments $50 a month, your car payments $350, student loans $150. Maybe you don't have any medical bills, but you've got a personal loan or a HELOC, or what? I guess you don't own a home. Maybe you have a personal loan that the payment's 120 for maybe a four-wheeler or trailer or whatever that may be. And hit continue. So debt is taking $620 of your monthly income as payments, and that's probably on a low end for most people. Most people have a lot more debt than that potentially. And in this scenario, we still have $885 left to budget. So there's not a lot of room in this budget once you look at your bills and your monthly debt expenses. And so the idea here is to get this to be zero. So we budgeted as much as we can in the basics, and now we will look into um, I mean, what do you need this month? And so this is where you kind of come down to the bottom here. Um, and in my personal budget, we have a miscellaneous group, and so things that we need around the house, around the, and whether it's a vacuum or we have a party that we're going to, or a trip that we're taking this month, or something we're going to do with our kids, or something date nights. This is all that kind of thing. So what we'll do here, I'm going to add a miscellaneous um, group. Oops. And then we'll add an item and just put, for now, we'll just do a date night. We'll just throw that other $85 in there, which is either a good date for some people or a cheap date for some people. Anyway, so now we have an Everydollar budget. So basically we've taken our income at the top. You can look at it now. We have taken our income, both of our paychecks, and we've walked down this budget and spent that budget. So if we're looking at April, this says April. If we're looking at a May budget, which you can go in here, you can move over, and it'll copy April's budget to May. But we're gonna stick with May or April right now. But so May's coming up next week, so you want to take a look at what you've got coming in for May and back it out and look at, hey, okay, I'm going to spend $420 on giving. I'm going to spend $1,200 on my rent. water, electric, if you got gas or propane, if you got cable, trash, what is your gas for your car, um, your groceries, your restaurant money. So what we did at the beginning, we went through and all of these items we put in there. Uh, And so as we go through here, you're basically spending that $4,200 on paper. You're planning out what you're going to spend. And if you notice, there's 200 in fund money, which in a lot of cases could be 100 per spouse. Um, and that gives you leeway to do whatever you want to do with that $100. But then it keeps you within your income limit, so you don't have to use your credit cards. um, but you can see that things are going to come up throughout the month that you may not have budgeted and you may not have room for. And so you have to plan for that. You have to typically, you'll have a kind of a miscellaneous line item right here. So they'll have, a lot of people will put $100 or $75 or $200 in there so that they can, there's unexpected things that come up throughout the month that you can use this for. That way you're not going to be able to label every single thing that you're going to need that month. I mean, April or May is 2-3 weeks out, um, and um, we're going to have things come up in that month that we don't um, that we can't foresee the exact amount. You get there and you may need this or that you didn't know. What I like to do is keep a list, a running list. And so during April, if I think of stuff we need for the house or think of stuff that's coming up in May, then I'll put it on a list so that when I go to do my May budget, I have that list. I can run through it while I do my budget, and I can remember, oh, I've got this baby shower that I'm going to, or that we're going to. I've got a field trip that we're taking the kids to, or we want to do this as a date night, and it's more than our normal, or whatever it may be. But you can create a list on your phone, notebook, paper, whatever it takes. I use my phone, as most people probably do nowadays. But um, anyway, so just look at it that way and try and plan for that May, those miscellaneous as much as possible. So if you want to put a vacuum in here, you can do whatever you want. But if you'll see, if I put $50 in there, now I'm $50 over budget. So if you do that, you've got to find the $50 somewhere else. And maybe that's something you decide you want to, you don't need a haircut, or only one of you need a haircut, so you can change it. So now it's back to an Everydollar budget. Just means it's a zero-based budget. So you've taken the 4,200, you've walked it down this list, and now it's zero. You have no money left to spend. And so if you keep spending money outside of these line items, you will, in essence, go overdraft in your account. And so that's when people tend to start using credit cards, because they run out of money, because they're not controlling what they spend, and they're not paying attention to it either. And that's where the biggest challenge for people is to stick to what they plan on. A lot of people do the basics. They plan the basics: the food, shelter, clothing, utilities, and then they let the rest of it just play out and hope they have enough at the end of the month. So they typically spend all of their money within 2 to 3 weeks of the month, and it um, ends up running out at the second or third week, and you have another week or so to go, and you don't have any food money, you don't have gas money, and everybody justifies, well, we need this, we need gas, we need food to get to work. And yes, you do, but you don't need to put it on a credit card. It's your behavior that is out of line, that you need to control what you spend, and control when you spend it. And so if you get paid twice a month, and half of this money or half of this, so you may only pay 210 on the out of the first paycheck, or but all of your rent has to come out on that first paycheck. And so you've got to be able to plan that, that's an allocated spending plan. And there's forms in the resources over here that you can find to help you do that. What I like to do, I like getting paid once a month because I get the full 4,200, which means that doesn't matter when I spend all this. I can spend it all in the first week if I really wanted to. And if you're using cash envelopes, we can go down here to gas. You can pull out 400 and put it in your gas envelope. You can pull out 500 and put it in um, your envelope for groceries. If you're still doing the 2 week paycheck and you're managing that, then do your half of that. So do 250 for the first 2 weeks, and then 250 for the second 2 weeks when you get that second paycheck. It makes it simple when you do it all as a one paycheck for the month. But then you just really have to pay attention and really have to stick to your categories here, or you will run out of money early because you think you can maneuver it, or you think you can make it work. But you'll run out of money, and you'll go into overdraft, or you'll use savings, or you'll use a credit card and go right back into debt like you had planned to get out of debt. So that's giving you an overview or a summary of an Everydollar budget, zero based. You can do this on Excel. This app just helps you track it. So if you wanted to add a transaction, so say you had a Hulu transaction, a Hulu subscription, you want to add a transaction, and this is the free version with Everydollar. So you want to add an expense. So your Hulu is $45, and so it's a subscription. You can label this whatever you want. Um, uh, and it's in the subscription categories, and then hit track expense. So now you have $20 left. Maybe you have a $20 Netflix charge or whatever it may be. And you can even get to the details of doing Hulu, and then you change this to 45, and you add um, Netflix, and you do 20. You can be specific like that, which I like to do because I want to know where all the money's going. That way you can decide at some point to change it. If you notice, I took 65 and I changed it to 45, which left $20, and now I put 20 in Netflix, so we're still in Everydollar budget. And this is the idea: is as you go through the month, you can track these things and say some categories down here, maybe you didn't spend 85, you only spent 50. Well, you can take that $35 and put more on your debt, or whatever it may be. And that way it gives you the ability to change it. And so you can track those expenses, and you can see this in the remaining section. We have 0 remaining for the Hulu, and then we have 20, 50 for everything else because we haven't tracked any transactions. And you can just add a transaction there. You can look at your tracked transactions, the Hulu subscription. The Everydollar Plus gives you the ability to connect to your bank, and it pulls its own transactions here from your bank account, and then you would just drag and drop um, with that feature. It's pretty nice. The only caveat is it does take a couple days to pull in those transactions. So if you spend money today, it may be today's Tuesday, it may be Thursday or Friday before you can come in here and track them. I typically try and track all of my transactions every week, maybe twice a week if I can. So sometimes it gives you that ability to track them that quick, and you can kind of see what your balance is and how much, maybe it's groceries. If you're not using the cash envelope for groceries, which I recommend when you're starting out to do cash envelopes. That way, when you go to the grocery store, well, once you're out of money, you're out of money. You can't keep spending. And if you're trying to do it, you've got 4 weeks in the month, and you've got $500. Just divide that by 4 weeks, and you've got $125 to spend per week in groceries. And that may be a lot. That may be not a lot for some people. But if you've got kids and stuff, you may have to bump that up. But then you've got to bump other stuff down, and vice versa. So again, you can do this in an Excel spreadsheet if you don't want to use Everydollar. There's plenty of other apps out there. I like Everydollar because it's easy to use. It's simple. You can maneuver, you can play with it, you can change numbers around, and halfway through the month, you can make corrections or make changes as needed. Maybe halfway through, you had something come up and you don't want to use the $200 in fund money, you have to do something else. You can make that change halfway through the month, and you can in Excel. It's just user friendly. There's apps on your phone. You can connect one account to both spouses, and y'all can both have access to it, and you can both see it. So it's pretty simple, pretty user friendly. Excel is great. It's got its own um, benefits, and so you just have to know. But you want to do the basic of it is you want to do that zero-based budget. Give yourself that freedom to plan out what you're spending of your income. And so maybe next month, um, you actually get your tax return, and so you just go in here and you add um, tax refund. And if you are getting a tax refund, whole nother discussion, but you can look at your W4 and see if you can change that to where you don't get a tax refund every year, because you're getting it monthly. You may add a couple $100 a month to your income if you change your W4 form at your employer. But maybe you're getting 4,500 back this year, so now you've got a $8,700 income this month, but you're used to 42. And so, what do you do with this $4,500 left to budget? Well, what I would do is come down, especially, I mean, you're at this point, you're in baby step 1 or 2, and so one is $1,000, which I think you can look right here. So it gives you the baby steps. One is $1,000 emergency fund. So you want to put $1,000 in your emergency fund, and then 2 is pay off all debt using the debt snowball. So you list your debts smallest to biggest, and you pay them all off. So what I would do with that 4,500 is put it on your lowest debt in your budget. So what we go down here. And so it's probably going to be your credit cards. You would list out your credit cards, your car payment, your student loans. You list it all out into smallest of debt, smallest to largest, and you would just work your way down that list, paying the minimums on everything else, and then attack that smallest debt. And then that way you have 4,500 to pay. I mean, with that tax refund, could really make some headway. We're going to delete this. And just to give us that Everydollar budget, again, it's a zero-based budget. That's what you're trying to achieve. And you do this every month because everything's going to be different. You're going to have more expenses next month, or the electric and the main bills may be really close and similar. But during the summer, you may go up to 150 in electric. So now you're over budget $50 if everything else stayed the same. So now you got to find that money somewhere, and it may be that you have to take it out of your fund money, or maybe you don't have as much for date night or whatever it may be. You won't need a vacuum 2 months in a row, so you delete that, and now you're in Everydollar budget again. So it just gives you that playroom, and you want to do a specific budget every single month. for the expenses that you will have during that month. And that's why I create a running list. I'll start it months in advance. If I know I've got a birthday coming up in May or my kid's birthday that we're going to be spending money on, I've got it in a list that I can keep track of going through April. But I'm thinking about May's budget. I'm thinking about what I'm going to spend next month, and so what I want to spend. If there's something I want to buy, can we fit it in the budget for next month? And so that's what we do with our list. Um, that's about it. If you've got any questions, feel free to reach out to us at Zach at aafinancialcoaching.com. You can comment below, and we'll get in touch with you. If you got any questions, any more um, about Everydollar, how to use it, if you're having trouble using it, feel free to reach out to us. I'd love to do another video with you with that question in mind and kind of help you out if we can do so. I appreciate your time, and I appreciate you coming or viewing the video and trying to learn more about how to create a budget.